welcome back to another episode of Master Your Life with Kate McKay, a show dedicated to people's stories of transformation, of grit and determination to lean in and become our highest and best self. Today, I'm very excited to introduce Dom. Dom, welcome to the show.
Woohoo! Thanks a bunch, Kay. Looking forward to a special Kay good time.
Oh, thank you so much. So Dominic, actually, he has also a podcast, and his goal is to just record how many?
1,000.
You go. Dom is a certified trainer with the Maxwell Leadership Team, best-selling author, and host of the Going North podcast, a podcast committed to featuring authors from around the world to promote the power of the written word and inspire listeners to publish books of their own. His mantra is advance others to advance yourself. Isn't that the truth? So I'll be sharing all of your links, obviously, in the show notes. But today we're going to talk about the 5 keys for elite performance. But you know what I would love to get right into? And how did you come up with this idea of the 1,000 interviews? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, it's really insane. It's really just a growth and a stretch goal for me that came to my sphere of reality about a good 2 years ago, I think, when I was close to 300 at the time. And I'm like, wait a second, how the heck did I get to 300? And why did 3 years pass me by? Like, you know what? Let me go for 1,000, see how this so happened. And it's just been one heck of a great experience because the show itself comes from a place of service, because I originally started the show to promote my first ever book, Going North, Tips and Techniques to Advance Yourself. And when I talked with a coaching buddy of mine over coffee, she's like, hey, like, you got this great idea of yours and this brand of Going North. How about you name your podcast Going North as opposed to Mr. Musica Reads, what the original title was going to be? And you can just change it later if you want. And I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and do that. Make it about fellow authors, get their voices out there, get their voices heard. Because a lot of folks who write, and not just for like business as in for the lead magnet books, they usually are introverted, stay in the corner, stay in their turtle shells, don't want to stick their head out too much. And it's like, hey, all right, I'll make it audio only. So that way, if they're too shy, they don't have to show their face, even if they're really freaking gorgeous like Kate here. And down the road, like, it just grew and expand to where 100 flowers metaphorically blossom. So yeah, it's been one heck of a journey of where it actually, just the number 1,000 just popped in my head. Like, you know what? It's doable. It's freaking doable.
It's very David Goggins of you. You know, it's because it's an insane number, right? It's an insane number. And so just talk to me a little bit about your pursuit of excellence. Like, what does excellence mean to you?
Yep, sure thing. Excellence means to me is the fact that it's your best level today that's not going to be the same tomorrow. Because the difference between excellence and perfection is when you're going for excellence, you're exceeding expectations. When it comes to perfection, you're basically complete. You're done. Like, there's nothing else you could do. And excellence is what I seek. And I really think that this mentality came from my parents, because my father, he fought in World War II and in the Korean War in the 82nd Airborne Division. And my mother, she's my first ever public speaking coach, as I dub her, along with many other wonderful titles that moms have to do. They're basically the woman with 30 jobs at once being a parent. And she got her master's degree in psychology, and she was all about education as well. And really just focusing on taking something tangible and just working hard at it, and then eventually getting to the point where it's like, all right, so yesterday's excellence, doing one episode a week for the podcast or doing the one book and getting it out there, wasn't enough. It's like writing multiple books, doing multiple interviews a week to continue to grow the brand, grow the show, like connecting with more people, then going back with some of the folks I've interviewed and continuing those relationships and networking with them and helping advancing them as a result, and just growing this metaphorical positive tree, giving positive shade to people in summer. And I know you live in Florida, so I'm sure it's pretty hot down there most of the time. So it's like, hey, be a positive tree, give positive shade to people, not the negative shade. And that's really what excellence is all about, just exceeding expectations, even if they're your own, because you can surprise yourself when you really tap into your own inner greatness, and bonus points if you hire a coach.
Yeah, amen. So what do you think is in the way of people doing that, of pursuing excellence?
Definitely self-doubt and self-sabotage. Like sometimes, depending on your environment where you grew up, you may not have that positive influence around you. And if you're lucky and blessed enough to find one and you cling to them long enough, that'll speak those great words that'll help you to run for a lifetime. Heck, even one of my Sunday school teachers growing up, Mr. James, he instilled two powerful lessons in me. The first one is to know peace, you have to know war. There's going to be struggles in life. And heck, even you know this yourself, Kate, with the struggles you've gone through in life and still able to smile through all of it is the fact that if you want peace in life, there's going to be times of war. And also, there's going to be the times we have to keep the magic word in mind. Any idea what that magic word might be, Kate? Yeah, it's the magic word no. Because the thing is, it's great to say yes to a lot of things, but you have to also say no to some things, like being around folks who have bad habits. I still remember growing up in high school where I was around folks who were skinnier than me, and I eventually became skinny. I was around a good 235 pounds back then, and I wanted to be able to keep up with my buddies, especially since they were upperclassmen. And I eventually lost that weight, and my graduation weight was like 160, and
Well,
it's they
what were you up to?
yeah 235 in high
Wow.
school at 10th grade.
Wow, unbelievable. So would you describe yourself as being more determined than the average bear?
Yeah, that's right. Definitely more than your average bear. This is a chocolate bear too. So yeah, extra honeygram swag for yours truly with all the s'mores. But yeah, definitely more determined. Like when I'm focused on something, heck, even my mom still points this out to me this day when I always talk to her and check up on her. It's like, hey, you're always the person that when you set your mind on something, you always get it done. And that's really what I'm all about. It may be delayed, but hey, it's gonna get done. Like you have to accept life's delays because they're not really denial. Sometimes that delay was just God's way, or for some, the universe's way of pointing you to a side quest that'll get you back on your main quest.
Oh boy, isn't that the truth? So I have this question I'd love to ask, but what would you say your favorite failure has been?
Wow, that's the first time someone asked me that, but I friggin' love it. That's what I'm talking about. Hashtag KTG for Kate the Great on that one. My favorite failure would have to be, wow, to actually think about that, would a few pop in my head, but I have to say, I'll go with an injury that I had to go through when I was doing Taekwondo back when I actually broke my toe. And funny enough, it wasn't even a glamorous way, it was doing something small. Like we had these mats on the floor and we were practicing spin kicks. And the thing was, when I got these long legs, so I got to take these long strides. And when I got halfway back to a set of done kicks, my small toe got jammed in between two mats when I was spinning. And I was basically hobbling for a good 2 weeks and I couldn't metaphorically levitate. And that just taught me the major lesson that you really have to admire your whole body. Just because one piece is broken, it could actually damage you because folks would notice, like, hey, Dom, we notice you got a boot on your foot. We know you can't hide it from us. We see you walk before. You basically glide. You're not gliding, sir. How'd you hurt yourself?
Mhm.
And that goes with life. Sometimes there may be a part of you that may be broken that needs to be healed for you to really get back to your gliding state. So that's really one I have to say it's probably my favorite failure is that if you want to get in your gliding state, take care of your whole body, your whole system.
So what was that experience for you? Were you humbled or were you pissed or where did you go through that? Because I mean, I think that injury is like brutal. I always get pissed. I'm like, I remember taking this huge fall. I was riding mountain bikes in the middle of friggin' Baja, Mexico, in the middle of nowhere, mind you. And I was like, what's the one thing you do when you're riding? You don't look at the target. You don't look at the boulder. And I looked right at the boulder and I fell and I let out some swear words and I was by myself. There was no hospital that was close by. And I was just grateful that I was athletic as I was, but if anyone had heard me, it would have been embarrassing because I was so angry, and it was an injury that really put me out. I was like, I'm lucky I didn't break my leg, but I tend to
Mm.
get really pissed. And it's not like I get pissed and I'm like, you loser, Katie. Maybe I do say that, but it's more like I get fueled by the adrenaline to do it differently. And I know
Mhm.
that's probably a little bit more of an athletic mindset. And I can't really tell that to everybody because other people are like, why are you so negative talking to yourself? And that's why I bring up David Goggins, because even though people are like, oh, he's nuts and everything else, yeah, he is. But people who are gritty know the ugly, dark places. If you don't acknowledge that you have ugly, dark places inside you, you are hiding. You must face those dark places to heal and grow, because you cannot serve if you're in denial. You just can't.
There you go. That's true.
That's all I
Exactly.
got to
It's like,
say
hey,
about that. I got nothing else to add. But you know what I mean? Because that's why I'm asking you about that injury, right? Because it's a toe, and it didn't happen like, you know, like you were like saving someone or something like that, right? But it took you to a place inside where you had to change things around. So what would you
yeah.
tell someone who's in that type of situation, that so that people are like, you know, Dom, everything's come easy for you. You've had it easy. You just, right? You're a happy guy. You're a positive guy. You had it easy. You had a mother that loved you, a father that loved you. Like, you don't even know challenge, Mr. DB.
Oh yeah, challenges do come, and besides, you'll actually be more grateful for the challenges when you succeed. And like injuries, yeah, I was pissed. I was actually surprised more than anything else because I'm like, wait, that felt weird, but it's like, and I didn't even think it was broken because I was limping afterwards. And then when I got the X-rays back, and my doc said, "Yeah, your toe's broken, buddy," I'm like, "Oh crap!" So I was more surprised and disappointed then pissed. No, I did have another injury down the road. I was pissed at that one. It was the Charlie horse from hell that I'm still recovering from to this day, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, but definitely the broken toe. I was more surprised and disappointed, but
Have you picked up your copy of my best-selling book, Claim Your Inner Badass? Available on Amazon now. Go grab your copy.
I was able to get back up in a few weeks and test for my green belt at the time. That was the next level up at the time, and was able to recover. It wasn't that bad looking back. It was a great lesson. Like, hey, take care of your whole body, and setbacks are going to come. And hey, I probably needed that time off my feet anyway. Who knows?
Right.
Sometimes injuries happen for that reason.
So when you have something like that, and I've interviewed enough athletes, and certainly I know you have too, but when your identity is so tied into your sport, and let's just go at this from a guy angle, if you don't mind, particularly because I'm deeply committed to men's mental health, based on the loss of my son, which you and I talked about. So what happens to men, and I think in particular this is more true for men, when they don't have an identity or they lose an identity, and maybe they were involved in a sport, maybe they're involved in a gang. And it doesn't always have to be this positive situation. What is the journey of identity from your perspective, and ways that we can shore men up in this challenging time of very high level of mental health issues and suicide among men?
Another great question. My goodness, you're asking the great questions I haven't even gotten yet in the podcast. This is freaking amazing. So, for like mental health, especially with men, if you lose your identity, that's almost a death sentence, to be honest. That's almost a darn death sentence. Like me almost losing my job back in 2012, where all that happened when people thought the world was going to end is that USA lost Twinkies for a month, is that year actually it forced me to have a whole paradigm shift and focus on self-growth and personal and professional development. So like a man you losing his identity, whether that's with his job or even with him as an athlete, that's almost a death sentence. And the way to get out of that is to focus on other ways that you can contribute to society and making yourself better as a result. Like with a lot of athletes that get injured, they may have to do things a certain way. And even with pro wrestlers, like they have to, if there was a certain move that basically led to them getting that injury, after doing a few warm-ups is going to be the moment of truth before they even step back in that ring. Like, all right, you got to do the same move that got you injured in a way, depending on the injury. Like, let's say if it was a DDT dropping somebody on their head, which I don't recommend, and you actually like a quad basically fell out of place or something like that, that basically you have to be able to see if you can do a fall and break your fall. And if it succeeds and you're okay, then you can finally get past that. And sometimes, even though you may not be able to recreate what happened to lead to that injury, just basically going back to that same place. Heck, even with the car accident, sometimes going back on that same road and just making sure you make that turn again. Because I actually did that for myself. Because also in 2012, got into a car accident that year on my way to IT security class, and I was making a left turn, and then the brake jam in my car, and it crashed onto the side of the road.
Mm.
And a few months later, after getting my car back, since it wasn't total, thank God, I made that same turn again a few months later in daylight, and I was able to get that psychic baggage off. So
Mm.
in a way, like an identity, losing your identity is definitely painful. It's a darn near death sentence. But if you can focus on serving other people, focus on developing yourself to becoming better and finding new ways to do certain things, then you'll definitely set yourself up for more success in the future.
Well, how can we support men if we're thinking about this from a cultural? I mean, obviously, we're both role modeled at some level. Just the fact that we're both certified through some pretty great organizations. I'm with Brennan Bouchard, high performance coach. But when we, so when we look at identity as being such a large psychological term, and that with COVID, with loss of identity, with career, with relationships falling apart, men losing their partner and not having the support around them around there emotionally, that seems to be a common thread. So where is the challenge in our society, and where do you see a remedy or some steps that we can take in order to rectify this situation?
Yes, one way to remedy situation, definitely finding men's groups to be around with other men, definitely getting around other men and being in environments where it's okay to be guys. And know, especially like folks in the black community, barbershops are still places to go where like a lot of men just share wonderful war stories and other things and just talk about other things and other topics. It's like just having that safe space, or in a way, a recent guest on my podcast likes to say powerful spaces, like being those powerful spaces where it's okay to be a man, it's okay to be a guy, like
Mm.
finding those spaces and always making friends with other guys that you can go to, because a lot of folks that sadly that have committed suicide, it's usually in the wee hours of the night with nobody for them to go to or call. And
Mm.
sometimes that may involve you networking across the globe if you can, if you're a business owner, and networking with folks in different time zones. So that way, if you're in one of those God forbid situations, you have someone that you can call on, someone that you can really go to. So really having those networks built up with go-to people that you can go to in times like that, and always encouraging yourself and encouraging other people. That's another way to make yourself feel better, is by encouraging other people, calling someone you haven't called on in a while and checking in on how they're doing, sharing a good laugh with somebody. I know I like to listen to a lot of stand-up comedians, Bill Burr
Right.
being one of them. Like he
What
goes
was
against
it?
me, Bill Burr.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
Dude's
gotta, is it
hilarious.
is it dude humor?
Oh yeah, definitely some dirty humor. Definitely dirty humor.
Okay, good. That's good. I can take it. I have 5 brothers, so I can take it. I can take it. I can take it. So that's super helpful. So reaching out to communities, looking for men's group, finding places where dudes hang out, where you can be a dude. And I would just say that for me, it's like you're not alone. If anyone's listening to this and they feel, man, I'm alone, no one understands, I promise you, you are not alone. That there is someone that's just, even if you just need to know that there's a voice on the other end, there's someone on the other side waiting for you to be there for you in whatever way you need it to be. And reach out and get the support you need, because you know what, we need you. The world needs you. We need you to be at your highest and best self. So just a call out there to all those people that are feeling isolated and alone. And it's men and women too, but men in particular. Even the Wall Street, I had a whole article on it last week in regards to middle-aged men and suicide. So just like to call that out, and I appreciate your support and your words on that of encouragement. So are you chill if we just talk a little bit about the 5 keys to elite performance, just to tap into that a little bit?
Oh yeah, ready to be a cucumber with you. Ready to be
Okay,
chill.
awesome. So yeah, so just let me know, what are your how do you view that? Because I love like 5 steps, 3 steps. I just love this stuff.
Sure thing. Funny enough, we talked about men, and it kind of becomes a men's name when it all comes together. It's actually in a little acronym, Mitch, Mitch. So the M in And the wonderful 5 keys of elite performance is mental awareness. That's the first key and probably the keystone of all the other ones because you have to get that mind right before everything else gets right. Then the next wonderful key in the I is influence awareness. This is more of your environment. Definitely making sure the stuff that you watch, you listen to, the folks you hang around, like making sure you have the right influences around you. Then there's the T, which is time awareness. And the reason why it's time awareness, one, because hey, the other two are awareness. This one should also be awareness. And also, there's really no thing about time management. Time management is really a fallacy. It's all about attention management and energy management because time goes where your attention goes as well as your energy. The more energy you have, the more time you have. And when you have more energy, you have to dedicate your attention to what truly matters and what you really want to do and get out of life. So, time awareness. The C is for connection awareness. It even ties in what I mentioned earlier about those men's groups, finding other men to be guys around, be actual men around, always connecting with wonderful people. Like, is your metaphorical Wi-Fi signal out there ready for other wonderful humans to join you in your cause? And the H, the thumb to put it all together, is habit awareness. Habit awareness, because habits are really what are going to carry you forward to where your destination is going to be. Are they going to be habits that'll be $1 million habits, or are they going to be debt building habits? And not just financial debt. They could be physical debt. They could be spiritual debt. They could be inner debt from a lack of sleep, like a lack of bad nutrition. And I've been guilty of both in the past, like lack of really taking care of yourself and taking care of your business and taking care of the folks around you that you're responsible for. So that's the 5 keys for high performance, the magical Mitch.
I love that. I love that. So mental awareness, influence awareness, and then we have time awareness, which I love, and then connection awareness, and then habit awareness. And I love that you use that metaphor of like being in debt. And that's like metaphorically, where are you in debt in your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual life? You're in the red, and small habits are what get you in the green. That's a great metaphor. I love that one. Thank you so much. Way cool. So if you don't mind just telling a little bit about where people can find you. And again, everything will be in the show notes.
Oh, sure thing. So for those who want to keep up with Dom and all things Dom, head over to dombrightmon.com. That's dombrightmon.com. And there's also a free gift for those who listen to this fabulous podcast with the KTG, the Kate the Greater Self. It's called the 21 Lessons Learned from Podcasting. If you want to start, learn, and manage how to grow a successful podcast that can reach folks around the wonderful globe that we are on. That's right, indeed. And you can find it all on dombrightmon.com. And be on the lookout for Kate's episode 2 on the Going North podcast, because she's going to be part of the journey to 1,000. That's right, indeed.
Stoking. I got to make sure I got a good number in that 1,000. You're going to have to handpick that good one, the lucky 3. So yeah, well, this has been super interesting to me. I love it. I love it that you're a dude and we can talk in that dude space because I feel at home with you, and I appreciate you creating the space and the environment and the energy and the love that we can share and live and be authentic and still have some fun. Because you know what? Bottom line is, if it's not fun, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
That's right. That's right, indeed. It's like the L'Oreal commercial, except the reverse. You're worth it. Have fun.
Yes, you're worth it. Have some fun. So, well, thank you to all the viewers and listeners tuning in to another episode of Master Your Life. Dom, thanks again, and I will see you soon.
Thanks again, Kate.
And again, thanks again for tuning in, and stay excellent, stay on your path, and never forget, you have greatness within you. Ciao for now.
Want to learn more about Kate? Check out our website at kate-mckay.com.